Hurling in the Shadow of the Rockies. The podcast engaging community through intimate stories of the individual, fostering their culture through hurling in the West.
Me grief and tears to smother, off to reap the corn, left where I was born, cut a stout blackthorn to banish ghosts and goblins, brand new pair of brogues, frightened all the dogs, rattled all the bogs, on the rocky road to Dublin, 1 to 3 for 5.
The only reason every American kid in this country doesn't play hurling is because they don't know about it.
Digwit, this is Bob O'Boyle. Welcome to the third episode of Hurling in the Shadow of the Rockies. In this episode, we talked to Brian Barry. Brian was one of the founders of the University of Montana Grizzly hurling team. In April of 2014, I sat down with Brian to talk about his history and experiences in Montana.
Right, my name is Brian Barry, and I was born in Dublin in 1992.
Tell me about your history, about where your family came from, and how you got here today, that type of
Okay, I come from a place called Glenageary in the south of County Dublin. It's almost down on the Wicklow border. My mother is a Dub as well. She's from Raheny. Her parents are both Dubs, so going back a few generations until you hit Kilkenny somewhere along the line. My father, he's from a place called Thurles in Tipperary, County Tipperary. It's called a small town. It's called the home of hurling, which we'll get onto later, I suppose. His parents, his father is from around there as well, and my grandmother, I suppose, on my father's side, would, I suppose, be the most interesting from a Montana point of view. She comes from Bear Island in County Cork, just off the Bear Peninsula. So she actually had some relatives, cousins, who came over to Montana to Butte. I suppose her second name would have been Lowney, but it would have been Harringtons who came over on her side of the family. So,
are there any stories or anything that you think of that exemplify being Irish?
To be honest, no story in particular. I think you just kind of, just for myself and person, just something that happened to me.
Yeah.
Or I suppose nothing in particular then. It's just a general carry-on of everyday life. I get up out of bed. I think it's got a sense of humour, and it's just the friendliness and but not being too friendly, And I suppose the language, it's the sports, it's the music, it's just the whole culture. Everything. You could spot somebody from a mile away. Like I was having lunch with Sheila one day in there, and we were just having lunch, and this fella walked by, and she just says to me, well, she said, "Here, look at that fella looks Irish." And I just said, "Oh, he actually is. I was talking to him yesterday." There's just kind of something about, bit of an X factor about being Irish. I'm not too sure, so what exactly it is, can't put my finger on it, but it's just something about being inherently Irish.
Well, what does being Irish mean to you?
Everything, I suppose. Everything that goes with the culture, the language, the music, the sport in particular. Like Nisha, I suppose, I've just played hurling my whole life. Speak the language, I listen to the music. It's just, and again, just the general sense of humour of it all, and the carry on.
So, when you were coming to Montana, tell me about how that came about. What were the expectations when you were coming to Montana? Did you have an idea what you were getting into or anything?
Okay, well, I studied law and Irish in UCC, University College Cork, at home, and in our third year we have to get placement, and there's the opportunity to come over here for 3 months to work with the federal court and to teach Irish in Trailic in the Irish Studies department, and study in the law school as well. So that's what initially I came over here for. And the second, I suppose, I came over, I just said I was presented with the opportunity to stay for longer than the 3 months or 3 or 4 months, and I jumped on it straight away. I was only here a few days, but I just said yes, I want to stay. And I'm actually after extending my visa again, so I originally was meant to only be over here for 3 months, but looks more like 12 or 13. So I suppose coming over here, expectations, I'd heard that there's a big Irish American population, I suppose, a big part of the culture over here, but to be honest, I didn't know how big it was at all. When I was talking to Trailic the first day, he told me how many students are involved with the Irish Studies program, how many Irish Americans there is, and you're walking down the road and you see tricolours or stuff going through Butte, it's just crazy. I had no idea it was to this scale.
Yeah. In your family, you said there's some history there with Montana connection with Butte.
Yeah. I suppose my grandmother, her was it cousins or uncles came over. Now I'm not too sure who they are or names, but the family that went over were Harringtons. So it's from that, because down around, to the best of my knowledge, down around Castletown Bear and the Bear Peninsula, Bear Island, they there's been huge amount of Irish who came over from there at the time straight to the to Butte, to the mines, because it was, I suppose, they jumped on the boat having the trade of mining in their skill set, and they hopped over and probably landed off in New York and said right where the closest mines, and they got kicked up to Butte. So I suppose so, yeah.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. So you knew you knew about Montana before you came out here.
I did, but not a huge amount, to be honest. Nothing that I would have done any huge research into or anything, to be honest. But since I came over here, I said, just taken aback at the amount of Irish culture and everything about the place.
Well, can you talk a little bit about that? What your impressions are now? You've been here a while. What are your impressions of the Montana Irish?
Just so friendly, so willing to help out. Just they'd walk a million miles for you. You know, I suppose the best example is after setting up the hurling club. You know, so many people willing to help out. There's several people around the town who've personally given us a bit of money. I suppose Terry McEnany was one, Tom Boland recently. Everybody involved with the Friends of Irish Studies, everybody who turned out on April 19, 2014 in Washington Grizzly Stadium helped out, dug into their pockets. And then there's the people who've, and actually coming out and supporting the team. There's just such a buzz around it. So that's a good example of just how the town and how the community has just rallied round I suppose, a relatively small group of people. There's no more than about 20 of us playing the sport, but hundreds have rallied round us to support us.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about hurling. What does hurling mean to you?
I suppose everything. It's all I've ever known. So since I was a young fella, I always had a hurl in my hand, just hitting a ball up against the wall. I'm the youngest of three brothers, and the two older used to play. My father is from, as I said, a place called Thurles in County Tipperary. That's where the GA was founded originally in 1884, and it's called the home of hurling. And if you were ever there over the summer, you'd know exactly why. It's a small provincial town, only a population of 13,000 people, ghost town for about 360 days of the year. But then smack bang in the middle of this small provincial town is a 56,000 seater stadium. So I'd say it's a ghost town for 360 days a year, but the remaining other 5 or 6 just comes alive in the summer when there's a hurling game on. I remember, well, I suppose they mightn't get as big crowds as they used to about 5-6 years ago because of I suppose the recession and all that, but that goes with it. People don't have as much money but to be travelling to games. But I remember I was at a game in 2005. Waterford were playing Cork and Thurles and Tipperary, and the stadium holds just over 50,000, but there were 100,000 people in the town that day. A town with a capacity of beds of 13,000 and 100,000 people lined in. It was absolute chaos, mayhem. So I suppose that's from one side of my family. On the other, my mother's grandfather on her father's side, he played for Dublin and Kilkenny. He was born in Kilkenny and he moved to Dublin. He fought in the 1916 Easter Rising, and then he moved to Dublin, and he started playing with Dublin, and he won an All-Ireland in 1922. We won an All-Ireland medal with the Fogs Club. It's a club in the southwest of Dublin, I suppose. So probably the most successful and traditional hurling club in Dublin. So he won an All-Ireland in 1922. During that time, there's a famous picture, I think Nisha elaborated to, of him playing in Croke Park. Michael Collins, only weeks before his assassination, was throwing the ball in, was the dignitary at Croke Park, and was throwing the ball in because back in the day, in days gone by, it wasn't the referee who threw the ball in at all. They'd get somebody, I suppose, with a bit of stature within the community to get things underway. So just it was only a few weeks before he was assassinated, Michael Collins threw the ball in, and there in the front row ready to wear timber across the slitter was my great grandfather. Joe Coyne is his name.
Excellent, excellent. So it's a pretty rich history with you. That's part of that. You should talk a little bit too about the history of hurling. and how that's so important to the Irish identity. Is that, I mean, it sounds like within your family that's the case as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I suppose, and coming over here to Montana, seeing that there's the Irish culture here, and even those of us on the team, there's some Americans who have nothing to do with Ireland or no Irish in them. I suppose they've taken to it like a duck to water. It's just everything that suits. It is the or the Irish temperament, as Nisha said, with everything that goes with it. But the Americans absolutely love it too once they pick it up. You know, it's as I said before. I suppose it combines everything that American sports have to offer. I suppose the physicality and the aggression of football, I suppose the hand-eye coordination of baseball or hockey, the grace of basketball, just everything that goes with it, and just comes into, I'd say, the perfect game, the greatest sport on earth, and just epitomises everything that it means to be Irish on the field of play.
Excellent, excellent. And so with this team, you were really integral in getting this team going. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, when I came over, Trailic introduced me to Nisha, who's here in the Fulbright Scholarship. So, Nisha told me a while later, he said, "Here, I'm starting a hurling club," because we got talking, and turns out his brother plays for the same club I play for in Dublin, and he just said, Coola is the name of the club, and he said, "Here, I'm not going a year without playing hurling. I'm starting a club." So he kicked things off, and I jumped on board and been helping. We've two of us kind of been helping, running the thing, running the show, getting it bigger and better, and please God, it'll grow and grow and grow. I don't think I can't see any other way it won't. The only reason every American kid in this country doesn't play hurling is because they don't know about it. So just get the word out there, because this thing can go big in Montana and all over the world, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, and you've been remedying that to a degree because you've been writing a lot about it and getting stuff published in different papers and blogs and stuff.
Yeah, well, I write for a website. Myself and a few buddies set up a website there 2 years ago, a sports website at home. So that's kind of been going from strength to strength. But that's actually provided us with the platform as opposed to just publicise and write a blog about the hurling club. And to be honest, different websites been picked up all over the place, online and in the media here in Montana. There's newspapers, there's newspapers, radio, television stations getting behind us, just realising that's just an amazing story and it's something that they really need to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, and it's been special with the people too. I mean, like you said, you've got a lot of people that aren't even Irish, but Montana here and just wanting to be a part of it.
Exactly, yeah. We've got a few guys from Butte. We've got a guy from Whitehall, Caleb. We've got people from here in Missoula, but apart from that, it's like Noah's Ark. You know, people from all over. You know, we've got one guy from North Dakota who he's just nothing to do with it. But as I said, it's not only an exclusively Irish thing, even though it represents everything that is inherently Irish. It has something to appeal to everybody who enjoys good combat and a good sport. And as I said, it's the best sport in the world. And once you see it, once you try it, because you never look back, no matter what. Everybody in America I've talked to, and I suppose Americans who have taken up the sport have just said, "I wish this is something I knew all my life because it'd be better. I'd have played it more. It's just I wish I knew about it sooner." And to be honest, that's kind of a lot of what we're doing here. We're just spreading the gospel around Montana, and this thing can only grow.
Yeah, yeah. And you guys are looking to expand into some other teams, get some Butte teams, and Helena team, maybe Great Falls and Anaconda and that.
Exactly, yeah. As I said, all we need to do is light the spark and the fire will spread. You know, it's just get the ball rolling. So there is a bit of hype around this town alone, Missoula. I'm just walking down the street wearing this jersey or holding a hurl in my hand, and people are just walking by and recognising you and just say, "Hey, go hurling team! Hey, best of luck in New York!" You know.
Yeah.
When I came over, like had you told me this time 12 months ago that I'd have been part of setting up a hurling club, and we've been just the talk of the town here, it would have been crazy. Had you told me 5 years ago that I'd be living in Montana for a year and part of a sports team that's going to national championships with the whole town behind it, playing in a 27,000 seater stadium, I would have laughed, you know. But there you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, I probably didn't answer the question there. What was it? What was the original question?
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. So, one of the things that.
Oh yeah,
that
can I just cut across you there?
Sure.
As well as that, I suppose when talking about spreading the game, only this morning I got a call from the PE teacher in Hellgate High School saying she'd heard about the club and she wants us to come in and teach them. So we're going in next week for one whole day, talking about it to the 5 different classes. And then we'll be running an after school training the next week. We'll bring along the equipment, introduce them to people, because it's the young people. If the younger you start, the better you get, and the more important it is you. And the crazy thing is, I suppose people on our team, once you start playing hurling, it's your thing, it's your life. Everybody is telling everybody about it. And you just keep on talking. I've done a lot of travelling around the States, and I like travelling on my own. I go all over the world on my own, but I'll just be telling people about it, and they're just like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah.
It's getting bigger and bigger, and it only has room to grow. This is something that can only grow in Montana, and it's going to be there for the next generation and that generation behind that. And it's something even on the day of the stadium. The day we had a game in the stadium beforehand, I was poking around, hitting a slitter around with Trailock, and his 2 kids came out with hurls in their hand and were hitting around too. That's the next generation. Maybe when they're my age, there might be a full-on league. Young Shawnee there'd be running around with a hurl. There might be a full-on Montana State Championship, please God, because there's the potential for it. So there's the demand for it. Why wouldn't it happen?
Yeah. Yeah. And are you hoping that you can stay on here in Montana and help develop that?
I'd love to, but I have a degree to finish first, so I'll probably best do that at some stage in my life. So I'll be going home at the end of August probably. Actually asked me tomorrow. I have to sort a lot of things after this, but yeah. So a lot of things to sort out. But yeah, even when I'm going home, I'd help the club in any way I can. I'll be because we obviously have a lot of contacts here. Contacts that we've established over a few months in Missoula, and there's people who help the team, and we know, seeing that we've been involved with setting up the team, how to start it, how exactly to go about it, who to contact in be it the ASUM, down in Sean Kelly's, down in the local media. We have a lot of contacts now, because they just say, whenever you have a game coming up, get onto us, we'll do a piece on it. So I'll just be looking to help out in any way I can, and I'll be back, please God, someday. I'll be back to get involved with the team again.
Well, how long are you here this time?
I'm here till August, and one thing now, because in the nature of it, it's a university sport, people will be going home. We mentioned how diverse our team is. People coming from North Dakota, Louisiana, Idaho, Austria, all over the globe, I suppose. So in that nature, I suppose, is not going to be here over the summer. But the fact that there's been people saying, who will be around, the people who aren't affiliated with the university, just saying, I want to play, haven't seen that. So we're going to try set up an amateur team too in the town over the summer. So watch this space.
Yeah. Excellent. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, Brian, to this?
I suppose just thanks very much for everybody who helped give me the opportunity to come out here, particularly Judge Malloy and Judge Lynch down, who work at the federal judges, and Trailock O'Riordan, who were all instrumental, I suppose, to helping me get over here. And once I got over here, those people, and as well the countless others, have just been so welcoming since you came to Montana. Couldn't have asked for anything more, and to be honest, a bit taken aback since just how nice everybody's been and how willing they are to help out with everything. So it's amazing.
Good moment.
That's all she wrote.
Wish myself was dead, better off instead. On the rocky road to double and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Following this interview, Brian was instrumental in getting the first NCGA championship played in Montana. He came back that next year to cheer the Grizz on to their second NCGA championship victory at Washington Grizzly Stadium in the University of Montana campus in Missoula. Brian is currently the GA editor at Sky Sports, and before that, Pundit Arena. We thank Brian for taking the time to spend with us and all he's done for hurling in the shadow of the Rockies.
Combines everything that American sports have to offer, I suppose, the physicality and the aggression of football, I suppose, the hand-eye coordination of baseball or hockey, the grace of basketball, just everything that goes with it, and just comes into, I'd say, the perfect game, the greatest sport on earth.
We also really want to thank the Blaggards for allowing us to use their music. You can find them online at theblaggards.com, and everybody who has supported us through our social media, and those of you who have become patrons. Without this direct support from the community, none of this would be possible.